This video is rated T or Tickle Me Pink. The Tarkov pre-patch events have already commenced and you need to start getting ready to prepare for the Escape from Tarkov wipe. As such, I've gone ahead and compiled every single major update that's came to Escape from Tarkov in the last year, so no matter where you left off at, you know all the new systems that were added into Tarkov. This is only the important things that will make you a lot of money, save you a lot of time, and save your life in PvP in some frustrating moments. And thank you War Thunder for making this video possible. Now, I'm going to address the elephant in the room very quickly. If you've been watching my channel, I kind of disappeared for the last couple months. Some of you guys may have thought that I committed toaster bath and your life insurance claims were going to pay out. I was just kind of disappearing, and I will do a video on where I was, what was going on in my life, if you are interested in that. But most of you probably don't care, and you just want me to tell you what's going on in Tarkov. So let's hop into that. All right, let's go ahead and talk more about the changes that came to Escape from Tarkov. Now, these aren't going to be in a chronological order. I'll try and keep it as chronological as I can. So if you played quite a bit of the last wipe and you have a good idea what happened at the start of it, then you can go ahead and find a section useful for you. I've more so organized these in batches together so that you know all the changes that came to that particular system, and I'll go ahead and timestamp those down below for you guys' viewing pleasure. Planes in Tarkov? No, not in Tarkov. Today we're actually talking about War Thunder. They were so gracious to sponsor today's video, and I know you guys already know about War Thunder. Who doesn't? It has 70 million players already enjoying it, but if you haven't heard of it, let me introduce you. It is a massive game available on both PC and consoles where you can command over 2,500 different tanks, planes, helicopters, ships, and you come from 10 different major nations. Whatever your personal flair is, there will be a ship or a plane for you without a doubt. War Thunder also has a complex hitbox system. You can see exactly how this damage is administered in their new state-of-the-art X-ray view. And there's also several different game modes to play from. I personally recommend that you guys check out the air-to-air combat. That's one of my personal favorite parts of the game. War Thunder is available for free on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And you can go ahead and sign up using my link in the pinned comment or the video description, and that helps out the channel. They've also been very gracious and offered a huge welcome bonus to you guys that sign up utilizing that link. This is going to go ahead and include unique customization elements as well as a lot of premium currency to get you started off in the game. Oh, and did I also mention many high-end vehicles? Now, this bonus is only for a limited time, so make sure you hop on this as soon as possible. You'll also be a premium account holder for 7 days. Okay, the biggest change if you didn't play last wipe whatsoever that you wouldn't think really influences your gameplay tremendously is the addition to seasons. Now, it's not just 4 seasons, we actually get midterm seasons, and these line up with the seasons in your life. So during winter, there's snow on the ground, and this actually does influence your gameplay. You can go ahead and run camouflage. I know it sounds a little dorky, but it does tremendously help. And the snow goes ahead, it makes a loud noise as you crunch around on it. The ambience is way down, and with all of these seasons, we got new and unique ambiences. In fall, you're gonna hear a little bit more wind. In spring, you're gonna hear a little more rain, and it really influences how you go ahead and build your loadout as well as what different equipment you might use. And outside of just the pure gameplay elements and how it influences your raid, it's just nice. It's cool to go ahead and get customs with a new art style all the time. It really makes the game feel fresh and rewarding to play long term. There is now a PvE game mode separate to the actual main game mode. You can progress in a PvE format. Now, this is co-op and you can invite your friends. You'll just go ahead and go through the quest, progress your character how you would like, just how you would in a multiplayer system. It does have elements of multiplayer system, like a multiplayer driven flea market, for example, and it has all the systems of multiplayer built in except for the pure PvP combat. So you might ask yourself, are there going to be PMCs in it? Yes, there are PMCs in it. They are AI PMCs. They're very similar to raiders from labs, but they've gotten some of the new AI changes, and we'll talk more about those later in the video. Okay, Steam audio, if you guys have been playing for a long time, is effectively out the door, and the audio is actually in a really good position. You probably won't hear that from other content creators, but that is the honest truth. Tarkov audio is the best it's ever been since the game's been available from someone who's actually been playing it. There's no more weird dead zones where you literally don't hear anybody coming up on you whatsoever. You've all been in those situations where someone's sprinting and you didn't even hear them on your end. it doesn't exist anymore. There's also other changes to sound that we'll get more in depth with later, but for example, you can't do like the gimmicky crab walking where you're dead silent to other players. There's been a host of changes to headsets we'll get more into in a bit. There is no more crab walking. If you remember, if you went ahead and crouched and got into the lowest position, you were dead silent. There was sound on your end, but it wouldn't be heard on the server end or anyone else around you. And this led to frustrating gameplay where you just died out of nowhere to someone that never made a sound. Now, it is still quiet and it's hard to pick up on it if there's literally any like loud noise going on around you if you're sprinting around like a maniac. But if, let's say, you pull up into dorms, for example, and you just pause for a second and listen, you will hear people creeping around, scurrying on the floorboards, so you can at least prepare yourself to hunt down stank rat. Another massive change, something if you've been playing the game for a long time, a change that you've probably wanted to see is the removal of the found in raid flea market. Now currently, anything you pull out of raid, whether found in raid or not, you can go ahead and sell on the flea market. Now the flea market restrictions haven't been completely eliminated, so you can't buy literally every item in the game on the flea market. So the super high-end ammo, the super high-end armor, it is still limited, but you can get your friend on. You can get him to that flea market level and he can play at an almost end game level now just by sustaining his money, which I think is a great change. Personally, when I play with like Operator Drewski and his crew, some of his guys, they're great at games, but they just don't want to go through the quest for the 20th time. I think this is going to be a perfect opportunity for players like that enjoy Tarkov, enjoy the PvP, but don't want to do the mindless tasking for the 10th or 20th time. Extraction camping has been becoming more and more popular ever since General Sam uploaded his Year of the Rat video. It was hilarious, but it actually has become a problem, and Battlestate is kind of taking a stance against it. Just like how they don't want you to go ahead and get gunned down by someone you can't hear moving, they don't want you being gunned down in the extraction by someone who's been sitting there stuffing their mouth and watching Twitch. They've gone ahead and made a host of changes to extractions, trying to remove gimmicky spots that people utilize to go ahead and camp people at them, and also widening the extraction zone so you can get into it a little bit easier, and it's much more difficult for someone to cover that entire area and also be a complete noob at the game. Changes to AI we were talking about earlier, so AI scavs, and this will apply to the PvE raiders and some of the other AI in the game. I should call them PvE PMCs. They're not raiders, they are PMCs, just ran by AI exclusively in the co-op mode. So sorry for any confusion there. I could have worded that a little bit better. But they will actually go ahead and investigate gunshots now. And when they're investigating, they're going to go ahead and actually loot. So let's say you kill a player, you got in this engagement, you probably didn't kill him with your hands. AI scavs will hear that and come investigate. And maybe you had to peel off to go med, survival kit, whatever it is. The AI will actually come up and steal your loot. One important thing to know about this is if an AI scav has your loot, and let's say that was you dead on the ground there, you're geared and insured, you will not get that back on insurance if the AI never dies and still has it on him. If he dies and it's just laying on the ground and no other live AI scav picks it up, then you will get your insurance back. Sorry if that's a little bit confusing, but that is the best way I could think to describe it to you guys. Similar to the found and raid flea market change, they have actually gone back on inertia quite tremendously. It no longer feels like you're skating around the ground. Your character's strength is significantly higher and the inertia has been reduced quite a bit. There is still a healthy amount of inertia in the game. It's not like super arcadey like Overwatch where you're like like it's ridiculous, right? But it's not nearly as punishing as it was before. It really felt like foreign and awkward to play before, and they've really eased off of this. Something that was introduced in the game along the terms of movement as well is vaulting. It's super simple. The default keybind, you're just gonna hold spacebar and you'll just mantle over things. The bigger it is, the more it'll slow you down and it consumes more stamina. It feels really good, not clunky at all. Maybe your first couple raids, it will take some getting used to, but it just feels like it was always in the game. It's crazy we haven't had this entire time. On the terms of movement, combat, kind of big changes that came to the overall flow of the game when you're actually in it, we have shoulder swapping now. So if you remember, if you peeked an angle from the right hand side, your weapon, it swung around that corner a little bit faster than you're on the left hand, and it gave you an advantage. Now you can simply swap your shoulder and get that same advantage on the left. It feels really fluid. Once again, it feels like it's always been in here, and I'm going to use this opportunity. You guys should really go watch my settings guide. Not only is that going to be the best video settings for your game to run perfectly, but I have a whole keybind section that is mathematically the best keybinds that you can use in Escape from Tarkov. And if you have to reinstall the game, you're going to need to redo those keybinds and those video settings. That will be in the top right now. Go check it out after watching this video. We'll talk more about new maps and changes to maps later on, but one you need to know about right now is Ground Zero. It's a new map in the game, and it's like the new starting area. You're not going to go into Factory Woods Customs right away anymore. You're going to go into Ground Zero. There's like 6-7 new tasks. They're all very easy. I did a whole video covering how to do them all in like 5 minutes. I'll have that linked in the top right as well if you haven't done them already, but that is where you're gonna go when you first start your Tarkov experience. And it's basically the new player experience. It takes place in an area that's kind of like streets of Tarkov. It's very linear. It's not that big of a map, and basically you just want to stay off the streets because all the buildings can shoot down on the street. There is something weird about this. They want this to be like more friendly for newer players to get in, as some of us have 10,000 hours at this point, and people come into customs brand new and get stomped by some Twitch streamer who hasn't left his house in 10 years. Ground Zero actually has a level lock on it, so level 20 and below will be in their own instance of Ground Zero, so that way they're kind of free from all the nerds like me, so they can go ahead and do their task and learn the game. If you've played the game before, it kind of has squished loot, so I wouldn't stay on there to loot. It's really fun to PvP on, and you could enjoy just that, but if you want to kind of progress, I would go ahead and get off it. Now, I said they have a separate instance, and that's once you're over level 20, you're actually going to be in the higher level bracket against other players. So if you really enjoyed that map, enjoyed the PvP, you can go back in there, kind of like it's like a medium range, like factory PvP map, and it's really fun. I would recommend it. You can still choose to not do these Ground Zero tasks, and if you surpass level 15 without doing your Ground Zero tasks, maybe you just don't enjoy the map, you don't want to learn a new map, that's totally fine. You will just go ahead and skip all of those Ground Zero tasks and end up with the old starting tasks. Talking about leveling, let's talk about leveling to level 15, and I'll cover this more in a how to get ahead on the Tarkov wipe video. But basically, Arena and Tarkov are now linked. Like they talked about having it linked in the past. You're going to go ahead and level up in Arena. You are going to level up in Tarkov, and the leveling in Arena is actually quite fast. You could probably level up faster on day 1 of wipe on Arena if you so choose. So if you're in that bracket where you're not a big fan of that day 1 wipe, you're having a bad wipe, you don't like Ground Zero, whatever have you, you and your friends can all hop on Arena and go ahead and level that way, and you're going to be rewarded outside of just the experience. There's actually a new trader. You're going to have to unlock him similar to Mechanic, where you do a quest for another trader. It's very early on, and he will have rewards for you based off of playing Arena. So you will be able to actually get yourself ahead if you want to skip that really early game. You do need Arena though, and it's its own separate game. You may have to purchase it if you have the standard edition of the game. A simple small change, just talking about his rewards. GP coins, if you remember them in the game, are now currency for ref. They're no longer just like something you sell to therapists. They are their own currency now, and that has to do with, actually, it's like kind of like a homage to Tarkov's old game. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's called Contract Wars, and that's largely kind of what Arena and Tarkov are both based off of, but it was a currency in that game, so they've made it a currency for ref as well. And he'll sell you like different cases. They're kind of like loot boxes in a way. You'll buy them for those GP coins, and you'll get various rewards inside of them. So it is a little bit of RNG. You can target some rewards as well. If you're interested in Arena, I'll have a video breaking it down for you in the top right. It's a lot of fun. All right, with Tarkov and Arena tied together, that means your skills are tied together. You can actually go ahead and level up your character's skills relatively fast in Arena as well, which can be a nice little bonus. The one caveat to that is recoil control skill has actually been removed from the game. They decided it was unhealthy for the game, and they went ahead and removed it. And that's probably one of the ones that you would have leveled the most in Arena, but you'll still level your soft armor and hard armor, which normally are just a pain in the ass to level in the main game. I mean, they only happen when you get shot, right? And you never want to get shot in the main game. So you can level it that way if you want those bonuses, which they are very, very strong. In the past, very few people got the elite levels of those skills. So if you're looking for some new, really big task to accomplish in this wipe, you could aim for that. With the recoil control skill removal, they actually went ahead and just reduced recoil across the board. So no longer when you spawn in at level 1, Is your character gonna shoot a gun like he's an infant? Now he's just gonna shoot it like he's a Marine. I don't know why I included that bit. I just thought it was funny. Tell me what your favorite flavor of crayon is to eat in the comments down below. Mine is actually Tickle Me Pink. Yeah, it's actually a flavor of a crayon. That's how I got the name. All right, coming up in this section is largely going to be talking about the hideout and UI, but there's going to be some other little tidbits in the game right here. So new in the hideout, we have the Hall of Fame. So the Hall of Fame is this trophy system where, let's say you kill me and you are a bear. I am a USEC and I am level 50. You can go ahead and put my high level USEC tag on your trophy wall and you're going to get bonuses to your combat skills. That's exactly how it works. And you need to have killed me and I need to be on the opposite faction, and the level matters. That's exactly how it works. There's nothing else you need to know. It's kind of like an air filter and rewards you for killing high level players. It's really fun. You can also put interesting things on here like bitcoins, really all like the rare and valuable items, which so it can be nice if you choose to go for Kappa container, just because you don't have to stash them away in your actual stash. You can have them stashed in there. In the UI, there's actually like new hideout markers. So you know when you have a quest item in game, it shows you that little quest icon, or it shows you the found and raid icon. You're now going to have an icon that shows you, hey, you need this for your hideout, which will be very helpful with those first starting levels. No more like keeping a spreadsheet pulled up on another monitor. Maybe you guys don't do that. I'm a nerd, dude. I do that. Okay, but no more will you be doing that. You can also wish list items. So maybe you're targeting an item for whatever reason. You can go ahead and wish list it. This can be helpful if you're a new player and you don't know things are, really valuable. You go ahead and wish list it. Hey, I see that. I'm grabbing that. That's high value every single time. Makes looting really easy. In terms of the hideout, I have a whole separate video on the hideout that's not super agonizing to watch, but it just talks about various bonuses and things that you should kind of prioritize getting. It won't be in a how to get ahead video, so I'll have that in the top right now. And it just talks about all the different bonuses that really help you build a big advantage on your enemy in Escape from Tarkov. So check that out after this video. Part of your hideout, if you have a standard edition account or you're just not on the Edge of Darkness account, is you actually build up your stash size. You can now buy Stashlines on the Escape from Tarkov website. They're priced quite well. If you always wanted to maybe like you get EOD for the increased stash space, but you didn't want to pay that premium, you can now just buy those stash lines if you so choose to, if you have extra money lying around. I know the economy kind of blows, but yeah, if you're financially killing it, that's a good way to get extra stash space. In terms of new in-game tools and not having spreadsheets actually pulled up anymore, you'll be able to see the penetration of ammunitions in game now, as well as how likely they are to penetrate different plates. And that's right, I said plates. There were changes to the armor system, and we're going to cover those because there was quite a few armor changes throughout the course of the wipe, and I just want you to be completely up to date on all the information. I'm going to keep it nice and short for you guys and just let you guys know what you need to know. Also, new purchasable things. There's purchasable cosmetics. You can earn all of these cosmetics in game, at least at the time of recording this. Every single one of these cosmetics you can just earn in game. They're not limited. You can buy those. So I don't know if you want to have a hoodie at level 1. I don't know, dude. You're Jeff Bezos. Go ahead and buy that. Personally, I haven't bought any of those. There is a new edition of the game. Even if you weren't playing the game, I'm sure you heard about this. They removed Escape from the Edge of Darkness edition. They effectively added this new edition that's just like EOD. There was like talks of like these super OP pay to win items. They didn't make it into the game. This is effectively just a new Edge of Darkness edition that people have to pay more money for. There's some small changes, like there's bigger pockets. Like you'll have it looks like a scav vest inside your pocket slot, and you can just do a quest on the main game to unlock those bigger pockets if you have the Edge of Darkness edition. But you'll see people have different color names, as well as tags will be different colors. I'm not going to talk too much on this. I mean, I feel like this was beat to death. I mean, content creators who are millionaires by just playing Tarkov and sitting on their ass all day, or talking about how they were going to quit Tarkov and never play it again, and they realized they wanted a new McLaren, so they all came back. I mean, people that are professional attic dwellers were reporting on the game like it was trending news. It was just a time to be alive in the Tarkov community. Other than that, now if you ever die to someone who's super sus, you die to some guy named like Get Shit on Kid TV, you go type it in. No one exists with that name on Twitch, right? You're like, I think that guy was cheating. I don't know. He has 1 hour and 5,000 KD. Fuck that guy. If you report him, you're actually going to get a reward now if he gets banned. So that's nice. A little pat on the back. You'll also get these messages that tell you, hey, this guy was reported. Maybe they could build on this system even more. speaking of people with low hours and extremely high KD, I started a new account just to go ahead and see what I could do on a sort of time crunch system where I was only allotted a very few amount of hours every week to play, so it could be very relatable to you guys who are very busy. I have only 7 hours to progress my new account as far as I can. Why 7 hours? Well, unlike most of you who contribute to society, attend school, work a job, or pursue relationships, I'm a full-time Tarkov cringe ass. We got up to over a 50 KD on that series, and I spent a tremendous amount of time, money, and effort making that series. It's literally the highest quality series on my channel right now, and I have spent thousands of dollars actually to make those videos. So if you guys would check that out and let me know what you think, that would mean the literal world to me. I'm on my hands and knees begging right now. All right, talking about guns, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. They went ahead and just added like a flat recoil nerf to guns. So weapons like the 308, if you haven't played it in a while, like weapons like the SA58 and the MDR, they feel really good to use now. You can use the automatic 308s. 7.62 weapons overall, the bullets have been nerfed a little bit, but I don't want to speak too much about this because plates and ammo will probably change in the upcoming wipe. In terms of new weapons, the SIG Spear came into the game. I'm sure if you play Tarkov, you've heard of the SIG Spear before. It's new standard issue for the army. They have the 6.8 version in this game. It has a 25 round magazine. It is pretty similar to 308. I would think of it somewhere between like a 308 weapon and an M4. It's probably closest to the MDR if you have shot the MDR in Tarkov before. That's pretty close to what it feels like. This is basically just the new meta weapon that was added into the game. There's a new fun weapon that's kind of like mid-game meta that you wouldn't believe. It's the RPD. It's this old machine gun. It is a tremendous amount of fun to use. Give it a try. Promise me you'll give it a try. You will have more fun with this gun than any of the guns ever been added. It hits like a truck. You have these giant box mags. It's like Rambo. It's so much fun, guys. You gotta give it a rip. There was some other weird weapons added there, basically kind of like knockoff AS Vals and VSSs that you'll probably never use, so I'm not even gonna mention any more about these weapons. I know you guys' time is important. I try and value it and try and blab as little as possible. It's just difficult. I got a lot of stupid things to say. All right, I wanted to talk about these armor changes. So I'm sure if you guys played last wipe, you're familiar with the first plate system. I'm gonna go over it very briefly for people that don't know. So imagine this hoodie. I just smacked that green screen. So imagine this hoodie right here is my plate carrier, right? And this is soft armor, right? So everywhere you see this is soft armor. So this would just go ahead and reduce the damage of rounds overall. Now let's go ahead and say, I don't know, this Yeti is a plate. So this is a hard plate. If your bullet doesn't have a high enough penetration stat to penetrate it, it's just not going to penetrate. You're going to take very minimal damage, like 1 or 2 points of damage from blunt. Now, if it misses the plate and goes ahead and hits your soft armor, you're going to do a lot more damage because soft armor is much lower in the materials aramid versus plate. And you're going to do somewhere on like 20 or 30 damage, let's say, if it was like a mid-tier round. Okay, so there were some issues early on where the front plates, let's pretend my phone's a front plate, would be like this. So it would really protect your thorax right here, but if you got hit right here 1 or 2 rounds, you effectively died. They would decided that was bad for the game, and you can now think of, we'll use this piece of mail here. I blew a red light on accident, so I'm a piece of shit. But anyways, you can think of the front plate more like this. It's kind of like the older armor system. You're completely covered. Your armpit is no longer going to get hit. Your sides are going to be covered. Your back's going to be covered. And either your bullet penetrates that plate or it doesn't. I personally enjoyed the original armor system, and I think people just didn't like it because they didn't understand how survivorship bias worked. But that is just my personal opinion. If you want a more in-depth guide on how armor was working, I'll have that in the top right now that really breaks it down, the history of armor, because they're all built on top of old systems. It's not actually a new system. We've had this for like over 5 years in the game in various formats, and how we derive this. The only change is those plates have been widened up. If you didn't play in the past, the only other thing you need to know about these plate carriers is the plates are interchangeable. So you can go from one vest to another, and there's really only 2 different styles of plates. There's Eastern style plates and there's Western style plates overall. Western style plates go on Western style rigs. Eastern style plates go on Eastern style rigs. There's also armor. Your armor has its own places. Well, it's not just rigs. Hopefully I explained that in the fastest way possible, so you're up to date. They've gone ahead and also reduced the size of the head hitbox, namely the ears quite a bit and the head overall. So you're going to be getting headshot randomly a lot less. But if you're aiming for that head, you're still going to connect. All right, now I just want to talk about a few map changes. So these are just nice to know. Otherwise, they'll probably catch you off guard before. So let's talk about Shoreline. Shoreline had an extension. If you guys remember, kind of like between Road of Customs and then going to the resort, there was a concrete wall. It's just been knocked down. There's a field there, and past the field, there's some warehouses with some loot. It's just kind of like some industrial loot. It's pretty good, but it's kind of a weird spot overall. The only thing you need to know about is there's a grenade launcher out there, and you can actually kill the goons with that grenade launcher. So that's kind of interesting. But there's usually not too many people out there. It's a pretty safe spot to loot. We already talked about Ground Zero, but obviously that is the other map to mention. It is very fun on nighttime. You can do it without NVGs. That being said, I would not go on Ground Zero for the first time ever without NVGs. So learn the map a little bit before you do that. Overall, they've gone ahead and increased rare loot, so lead X's, etc. For example, on Interchange, they re-added lead X's into the Ultra Medical Key. Kiba spawns level 6 plates, thermals, really nice gear overall. They've gone ahead and kind of just buffed the loot like back in the day when you get high quality loot. There's also new ultra rare items, or maybe new to some of you guys, things like blue intelligence folders, which are used for the somewhat newish trader. Maybe you guys don't know of him, named Lightkeeper. He's an in-game trader. He's ultra late game. Like, you need to be maxed with basically every single trader before you even start working on unlocking him. So that's a big end game goal, kind of like a Kappa container. And there's just some new like ultra rare items that you may have not known about. I'm not going to spoil them too much. Maybe if you want to know more about those, I can do a video on just on all the new items and maybe the last year they've been added. It just felt a little out of place to put them in right here. Speaking about Interchange, they went ahead and removed the fog and they brightened it up. So if you liked old Interchange, it's kind of back to its peak. If you remember the Operator Drewski Interchange videos, it's kind of just like that, like back in the day. It's a great map. There's a BTR that roams around on streets and on woods. If you shoot at it, it'll be aggroed. If any player shoots at it, it'll be aggroed. Players can pay money and the turret will go ahead and shoot other players. It largely leaves scavs alone, and you can pay to ride around inside of it, and you can also pay to have loot delivered. Overall, I would just suggest it's fun to go up to it, but it will probably murder you more than it helps you. Just avoid it if you hear it, line of sight it, and you will be fine. This BTR also now roams around on woods, so just keep your eyes out for that. There is a new key room that was added to streets. It's an ultra rare key that spawns on streets. It only has one use and it can't be put in your gamma container. And inside of that room, it spawns a plethora of other ultra rare keys. Think keys that are worth like millions of rubles, things like your marked rooms. And speaking of marked rooms, they've gone ahead and added color key cards back inside marked rooms. So these are ultra rare. Streets was expanded. There's not a whole lot to say about this expansion in my opinion. You can kind of go stumble in it, but it really didn't reinvent the wheel or anything. Streets is already a massive map and your computer probably can't even run it. If you have those issues, make sure to check out that settings guide. There is Kalante on streets. He's a new boss. He's not very dangerous himself, but his guards are very dangerous. His guards are like on par with Killa. They will mess you up. They're the most cracked AI in the entire game. It is not even close, so just be careful about that. He does spawn in the expansion. It's by the green flare area on streets, if you know where that area is at. They also put this boss on Ground Zero. We don't know if he's in the low level version of Ground Zero or not, so stay frosty. He does spawn at the parking garage on Ground Zero. And that covers every single change that came to Tarkov in the last year that you needed to know about. Thank you so much once again, War Thunder, for sponsoring this video. Make sure you guys use the link down below to claim that package before it's too late. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video. If you want to know every single change that's important that you need to know that's coming in the next wipe, go watch this video. It will help you out. Other than that, I will see you guys all in the Discord on the live streams, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, boys.